Hey guys, Troll9002 here. It is 3:45 on 2/14/2021. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys. Let's celebrate that. Happy Singles Awareness Day to those of us who are single. And happy Sunday to everybody else who doesn't care like me. Today was the Strawberry Festival. I have great news, even though it was supposed to rain all day today. I actually got there in the afternoon, found out that they didn't have any strawberries to sell because their crops weren't that great and they just didn't have any to sell. But they had strawberry food you could eat, and so I decided to do the grown-up thing and have dessert first. So I had a strawberry shortcake. Woo, there it is. And it was so very good. The woman that made it had the perfect pound cake to strawberry ratio. Oh, mercy. And I only got a couple of pictures of the day because I went by myself, but here's the other one I got. I know it's goofy and lame, but that's the other one I got. Anyway, so I want to get right to my story tonight because apparently I don't have but 9 minutes 17 seconds left of memory for this. So I call it the Valentine's Day story. This is actually going to be a two-part story because it's going to be way too long for one video, and I know you guys love me, but you don't love me that much. So here it goes. It all started one rainy afternoon when a young man had to drop off his mom under the overhang at the hospital. His mom had been fighting cancer for what seemed like forever, but really it was only 7 months. Janet was unable to drive for at least 3 months because of the type of surgery she had. Now, when Justin would drop off his mom for her treatments, he'd sit in the car and wait for her to text him to pull up under the overhang to get her, as she would be tired after such a big event as her treatments. And Justin understood it was no big deal. But while he would wait for Janet, his mom, he would have tunes going in the car and be butt dancing in the driver's seats. The music, though it was loud in the car, was not a nuisance to the sickly people that had to stay inside the hospital. One day he was boogieing in the seat and looked up and saw a woman staring out the window. She seemed to be looking right at him. Justin immediately lost his hearing of the music, and all he could hear was his heart pounding. As quickly as he caught her looking at him, he put his head down because he didn't want to seem rude for staring at her, and he went back to his tunes. It went this way the entire first stage of treatment, which was 12 weeks long. And every week after the first time, he would look up to the same window, and the woman, who was more than likely about the same age as Justin, was staring back at him. And on this day, in the 6th week of the 12-week treatment, Justin had a woman approach the car. Justin had tunes going. He thought he was going to get yelled at for them being too loud, which would have embarrassed him so very much. But the woman instead knocked on the window and said, "Excuse me, young man." This woman looked to be about Justin's mom's age, so he had great respect for her. "Yes, ma'am. Was the music too loud?" She said, "No, son. By the way, I love your taste in music. I came down here to represent that lovely young woman up there that keeps staring at you from the window when you come here to booty boogie in the car." And so, because Justin had just gotten back from a camping trip in the North Mountains, he had camping chairs in the trunk of the car, and he offered one to the representative from room 11A, and she happily took a seat. It was the most beautiful spring day, the air was cool, and the sun was warm, and we had finally dried out here in Florida. Well, just a little bit, or what we call normal humidity levels. Anyway, so Adeline sat for hours and just bragged about her daughter Sophia, how smart she was, how nice she was to everyone, and so much more. The first couple of times Justin felt Adeline was trying to sell her daughter if she was trying, and she was trying too hard. And when Janet would come out ready to go, Adeline was usually already on her way back to the room to be with her daughter. With all the talking and time spent with Adeline, Justin felt like he had become to know Sophia, and even though he was only able to see her from the window, he was hoping one day he would be able to come out, she would be able to come out or come down, or maybe one day he'd be able to go into the hospital with his mom just to go to room 11A and meet Sophia. One day there were storms going on, and it wasn't safe for Justin to be out in the car, so the hospital staff had him come in and wait for his mom. He asked the reception lady if he could go visit Sophia in room 11A, and the woman got real quiet and quite reserved about the occupant of room 11A, as if it was a matter of national security or something. Just then, Adeline came down the elevator for her usual sit-in with Justin, and she approached him at the desk and invited him to walk with her to the hospital cafeteria for some coffee. This time, after about 3 weeks into the 12 weeks, it was Justin's turn to open up about his life, and so they sat and talked for hours. It seemed like just as time ran out, and he ran out of things to talk to, is when his mom would send a text. Well, one day his mom just came and found him talking to Adeline, and knowing her son, she figured Justin was just trying to comfort the woman or whatever. But still, ever so curious, Janet questioned Justin about what he was doing and telling the woman, and how he knew her. And Janet gave him the 3rd degree of the Spanish Inquisition. And Justin spilled everything he could remember. You see, Justin had some brain issues himself. He had terrible short-term memory loss and terrible ability to express with words what he was really needing to say. He'd trip over everything, especially if he was under pressure. And when Janet asked him if he had ever met the woman in 11A, he had to say no. Janet proceeded to let Justin know the reason he wasn't good enough, and he wasn't this or he wasn't that, and then people just wanted to use him for something, and he had to figure out why. No one was ever that nice for nothing, and that is when Justin started to think of what his mother said, and he started to question the sincerity of the talks with Adeline, and why they were happening, and the information he was giving her, and wondered if he would ever meet Sophia. And it dawned on him that never in all the weeks of talking did he ask why Sophia was in the hospital, and Adeline never asked Justin why he was there. But it didn't matter. Justin got his mindset. He finally wanted to meet Sophia. And so finally, the 11th week, which was the week of Valentine's Day, Justin asked Adeline if it was okay if he met Sophia for the first time. And he explained that he thought it was rude to ask about why Sophia had been in the hospital so long, and Adeline smiled at Justin and said, "My boy, I've been wondering how long it would take. Sure, you can come meet Sophia. Just come on now, I'll take you." And so, nervous as all get out, Adeline ushered Justin to Sophia's room. She explained to him that Sophia was in the hospital because her kidneys were failing, and they were on the wait list for a donor, but it didn't look good, and since Adeline didn't have the resources to keep Sophia safe and well at home, she kept her in the hospital just in case they got the call. Well, guys, I'm running out of time for today. This is Troll 9002 with the first half of the story down. Stay tuned for tomorrow and see what happens with Justin and Sophia. And will Janet and Adeline get together? Will they get along? Who knows? What are they really after? Like it if you liked it, hate it if you hate it. It's Troll 9002 signing off. Hope to catch you on the next page turn. Take care. Happy Valentine's Day.